It looks like Kim's in the
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, there she is.
Shoes.
I'll wait until she's.
She should be joining momentarily.
Um, Welcome everybody to the April 10th, 2025 meeting of the North Middlesex School Committee. It is 6:03 and this meeting is being recorded. Roll call. Randy?
Here.
June?
Here.
Lisa Bloom?
Here.
Will Hackler?
Here.
Tom Casey?
Here.
Kim Craven?
Here.
And myself. And then we have on the call as well with us, we have Brad Morgan, Nancy Haynes, Dr. Reese, Miss Olmsted, and Robin Ivy. All right, moving on. We are going to do the consent agenda first and then move to a short executive session to approve some minutes. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
That was June and a second by Will. There are several minutes in here. Thank you, Robin, for keeping us up to date on these and moving through approval. Anybody have any questions? All right, Randy.
Yes.
June.
Yes.
Lisa.
Fine. Here.
Will Hackler.
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
And Kim Craven.
I'm going to be abstaining.
Okay, thank you. And myself, yes. All right, may I take a motion? For the public, we're just jumping into executive session for a matter of 5 minutes to approve some minutes that we need to approve. May I get a motion from the floor for someone to move us to executive session?
I can read it if you want.
That works.
I was gonna say, is that or I got it? I have it up.
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
I move that the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A for the following purpose. To discuss strategy with respect to, just 7. So for purpose 7, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 22C, to review and approve executive session minutes of the North Middlesex Regional School Committee's executive session meetings. January 8th, 2024, Finance. January 11th, 2024, Negotiations. April 26th, 2024, Finance. April 29th, 2024, School Committee. June 13th, 2024, School Committee. June 20th, 2024, School Committee. July 3rd, 2024, Finance. July 9th, 2024, School Committee. July 25th, 2024, School Committee. October 15th, 2024, Finance. November 6th, 2024, School Committee. February 14th, 2025, School Committee. March 20th, 2025, Finance, and March 26th, 2025, Negotiations.
All right.
Second?
And that was seconded by June, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Randy,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
Will Hackler,
Yep.
Tom Casey,
Yes.
and Kim Craven.
I'm abstaining.
All right. We're going to jump to executive session. Please, everyone, just shut down your screen and join in a different, just to make sure that we're not exposing anything out in open session.
Yeah, just make sure their audio is off.
Okay. All right, everyone. I'll see you there. All right. We are back. Thank you to the people participating for your patience as we did our executive session. Randy, do I have to read anything since we came back in?
No.
No. All right. We will move to public communications. We
June?
have a few. Oh, it's June. Yes.
Tom is in the attendee list now with his hand up.
Oh.
Be added back in.
All right.
Thanks for the teamwork.
All right. We're going to move to public comment. The first person we have with a public comment tonight is Chelsea Carr. And I'm just going to remind the public that we allow 3 minutes per speaking. Is she added, Robin? There's Chelsea.
Hello?
Chelsea,
Can you hear
yes,
me?
we can hear you. Would you state your name and the town in which you live?
Yep. My name is Chelsea Carr and I live in Ashby. Um, so I just want to come on and because I want someone to make this make sense to me. Y'all voted to close Ashby in the worst way because our buddy Pat there said that it makes more sense. When you have had residents from Ashby, Townsend, and Pepperell all providing data, I'm not sure if like officially they provided it or not, but that proves that it in fact would not be the smartest and most cost-saving decision. And then you want to go and charge for full day or possibly full day kindergarten. But have you factored in like the busing from Ashby to Townsend for the kindergartners on the half day? I'm assuming that that's going to be more cost. And you want to potentially increase preschool tuition once again from last year's increase. So are you trying to price out families from this district? What about the families who can't afford all of this? But then you want to add more administrative jobs. So pretty much from my point of view, what you're saying is screw these kids, screw their education, screw an entire town out of their property values, and let's add some more admins for what? A district that's slowly going down the toilet. And what about the positions in the higher ups, like the superintendents, assistant superintendent, all of them? Why aren't they getting why are they getting raises and not pay cuts to help save money? I'm just extremely confused and I just don't understand how a group of volunteers, which I'm very thankful for, that y'all volunteered to do this and take on all this responsibility. I can't imagine, the burden that it can create. But I don't understand how volunteers can make the decision to shut down the only school and in fact affect an entire town, where in Townsend there are 4 schools and would possibly save more money. From listening to past meetings, I have heard nothing but negativity about Ashby and Townsend residents throwing complete fits about their kindergartners have to take the bus to Ashby and how detrimental it would be for their mental health and whatever else was said, but not even giving any care in the world about Ashby's only school closing and having to bus our kindergartners. I guess I'm just here to say the things that literally everyone else is thinking. And I know I'm probably going to be ignored except for a very few select who are actually thinking about the district and, Ashby. So I just had to put my 2 cents out there because none of this makes sense and in my opinion, none of it is smart. And most importantly, absolutely none of it is what's best for these kids.
Thank you, Chelsea. Our next public comment is Patrick McPhee.
don't see him in the list. Patrick, if you're here, can you raise your hand, please?
Yeah, I don't see him in the list as well.
Yeah.
All right. Carrie Mahoney Battersby, I think is.
Battersby, yeah.
All right. And her hand has risen.
Yep.
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Carrie. Please state your name
Awesome.
and your town.
My name is Carrie Mahoney Battersby, and I live in Ashby. I am speaking today to express my disappointment with a few of the agenda items listed for tonight's meeting. On the agenda, an item included was the reduction of middle school athletics. Personally, my daughter Molly Battersby, who is currently in the 6th grade, plays field hockey through Hawthorne Brook. This is a sport we pay for so she can play, learn, form bonds with her teammates, and learn to work as a team. Sports are very important in a child's education. It creates camaraderie with their peers, cuts down on bullying, and helps children build confidence. This also sets the stage for when our middle school students enter high school. They will have the confidence to try out for the sports they've been participating in, as well as a new sport if they so wish. My daughter has played softball for Townsend Ashby Youth Baseball Softball since she was 7 years old. She has played with these girls for almost 5 years and has formed bonds that I am positive will follow her through the rest of her public education career. The second issue I would like to address is the proposal for additional administrative positions. That would be the Director of Operations and Facilities and Assistant Business Manager. You must see the terrible optics this is giving to our 3 communities. We are currently in a budget crisis, working with a roughly $2 million deficit. Adding additional administrative positions while proposing cuts to middle school athletics, increasing pre-K tuition again, and the possible tuition for full-day kindergarten is fiscally irresponsible. It sends a message to the parents in our community that you do not really have the best interest of not only our students, but also our parents. Currently, 243 school districts throughout the Commonwealth offer full-day kindergarten. 234 of them are free. North Middlesex would be the 39th school district to implement tuition for full-day kindergarten. How will this impact future students and families looking to move into the district? With Ashby already losing its only school and asking parents of incoming students to bus their 5- and 6-year-old children to another town, you now want to add tuition, which directly affects parents. This has the potential to hinder the education of future kindergarten students while under-preparing them for 1st grade. As someone who is running for school committee this year, I am appalled by the terrible optics that are presented on tonight's agenda. We need to mend the distrust between our communities and the school committee. I hope we will be able to deliver on this in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carrie. Next is Craig Hansen. All right, Craig, just state your name and your town, please.
Yep. Good evening, Craig Hansen from Pepperell. Tonight, I just wanted to take a brief moment to pass on a simple message to those who find themselves most likely in their final meeting as a school committee member. Tom, Will, and June, thank you. Thank you for your years of service to the district, service on the committee, and camaraderie when we served together. Nobody will say the journey was easy, but I hope you look back and see the difference you've made for the children of our communities. Your efforts and your time, it's all been appreciated. That's all I had to say, so thank you very much.
Craig, they're not done yet.
Close enough, but thank you all.
All right, thank you, Craig. All right, next on the agenda, or not on the agenda, we have Stacy or Robin Ortinger.
Hold on 1 minute. Let me see if I can see it.
Stacy, if you would raise your
Oettinger?
hand. Oh, okay.
Oettinger, maybe? Hold on.
We will ask when she comes in.
And then I do have 2 comments that were sent in as emails. I just want to remind you.
All right, thank you. All right, Stacy, would you state your name and your town, please?
Stacey Oettinger from Ashby. How are you?
Thank you.
I have a really easy last name, but I married into a difficult one. So clearly I'm calling from Ashby, so you probably have a good idea of why I'm joining the call tonight. I do want to take a quick moment and thank a couple of really strong advocates that have been on the school committee that have really fought the good fight for helping maintain Ashby Elementary as a viable school throughout the years. This has been a multi-year long process, and although a lot of venom tends to head the way of the school committee, I do want you to know that you are seen and heard and appreciated. So thank you for your long commitment as far as helping us to maintain our only school in the district. So I have spent the last month or so rewatching pretty much every school committee meeting that has been recorded, just to get a really good sense of the dialogue that's happened throughout the years. And there have been some really strong conversations around why maintaining Ashby Elementary as an open operational school with students in the building is necessary and vital to our rural community. And I do want to point out that Ashby is the only designated rural community in our district, and that is a really important piece as part of this conversation. We are just being that rural community means we are really the most vulnerable population in the district. And that is something we need to think about very seriously when we have these conversations about whether or not we close the only school. As it's been mentioned previously many times throughout the years, closing our school would really impact our property values. I did a little bit of research, and across the country, the average property value loss would be about 13%. And based off of our 2022 numbers in Ashby, that would be a loss of about $52 million of wealth for our community. But that's an average town. We are a small rural town without other services. And so that percentage can be up towards 25% of property value loss, which again, based off of 2022 numbers, would put us at about $100 million of wealth lost in our tiny town. So I'm asking the committee to take it very seriously when we consider what we do with our school. I was very hopeful after our last February meeting. There was a conversation about whether or not we could maintain Ashby Elementary as an operational school, to buy the district or time to allow the state to get its funding practices readjusted. I think that's a beautiful option. I don't know what the status of that is yet. I'd like to piggyback on that option and just say that if that is a route that the district is able to go, that we need to really explore whether or not Ashby is the right school to close for a 1-year temporary pause. I would recommend that the committee take a peek at looking at potentially a Townsend school for multiple reasons. And I am so sorry, Townsend, to say that. But for the facts that it would allow us to maintain equitable busing as far as Ashby and Townsend students go. And also, I know that there was concern about Ashby Elementary not being large in size. I don't believe that we need that quote unquote room for growth immediately next year. So it would actually make more sense fiscally to keep Ashby open and shut down one of our larger schools for next year. We could maintain, especially if it's Spalding, we could save more on heat and electricity. And as it was mentioned in our February meeting, Ashby Elementary actually has really large square classrooms. And so it would give our students more space to learn compared to some of the other classrooms that are kind of funky in the district. And so I do believe if that's an option, it really could play into the people on the committee that said teachers, not buildings. It could help ease the fact of, instead of asking just one town to have 100% of their students bust 100% of their education, while the next town over has 0% of their students bust out of town for 0% of their education, it could be more equitable. So I'm sure I'm just drowning on food for thought. So I ask that the committee rescind the vote to close Ashby Elementary and then open the dialogue between the towns of which school actually would make the most sense to put on a temporary pause for a year. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy. All right, Robin, you have a few statements from people to read. Would you want to read those for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
The first one is from Kerry Gallagher. To start, I want to say that I realize none of these decisions are easy, and it's an unprecedented time to be a member of the school committee. Your job is not an easy one. I've heard about some of your agenda items tonight, and I would like to weigh in on one area in particular, though I am passionate about all of these agenda items. The area I would like to focus on is the proposed cut or reduction in middle school sports offerings. I beg you to reconsider removing these programs. I have 2 children who have actively participated in these programs during their years at Hawthorne Brook Middle School, and one of them will still be in middle school next year. The impact of these programs are extremely beneficial to their middle school experience and truly make them a part of the We Are NM culture. It allows them to form relationships with more students they may not interact with on a day-to-day basis, helping them on a social level as well. They have had dedicated coaching staff who have motivated them to become focused, team-minded, and embrace it's a bigger than you mentality that is so critical in the middle school years. They remind the students the importance of academics and have truly become mentors. The students at Hawthorne Brook Middle School embrace the program offerings. They want to be a part of them. I encourage you to at least consider some of these options if you need to make cuts in the area. Can you increase the athletic fees to help offset the cost? Can the teams themselves or the PTO raise funds to cover their programs? The PTO runs a very successful faculty versus students game that raises huge amounts of money. They also charge $10 per child for school dances. Can we ask the PTO to help fund middle school athletics with requested donations by the school department? I realize the PTO is outside of the school budget, but there is funding out there. Lastly, as an option, can you consolidate Hawthorne Brook and Nissitissit teams in some or all programs? I realize academics are the main focus. However, please remember the importance of the overall student experience that includes athletics as well as the arts. I'm willing to go out on the line and say that parents who feel athletics are critical will most likely be willing to pay a little more each season for their child to play. I truly appreciate your time, your service, and your commitment to our students. All the best. Carrie Gallagher, mother of 2 NM students, Townsend resident. And I do have another one from Joshua Mello. He says, my name is Joshua Mello. I'm the head coach of the middle school girls basketball team at Hawthorne Brook Middle School. My wife, Tracy, volunteers as the assistant coach. I wanted to contribute to the discussion around middle school athletics and possible cuts to those opportunities for our kids. We are obviously in the midst of extremely difficult times for our district, and I certainly don't want to downplay the challenges we are facing when it comes to finding a viable path forward. I understand you have to look at all options. With that being said, I encourage you to carefully consider the cost and benefit analysis of making cuts to these opportunities. Middle school athletics cost the district a relatively small amount of money. However, the benefit they provide to the district and to our kids truly cannot be measured. Many of these students are future leaders in the district. By participating in middle school athletics, these players develop leadership abilities, learn how to be reasonable with their schedules, and to keep their grades up while participating in their sports 5 days a week after school. The kids who participate in middle school athletics develop critical and lifelong habits that benefit them greatly and have a huge effect on the district's performance, both athletically and academically. In many cases, these students are your valedictorians, your student council members, your scholarship recipients, and your school district's biggest advocates and proudest members. Participating in middle school athletics definitely has an impact on where these students choose to attend high school. When these students represent their school in the districts as athletes, they feel more connected to and proud to be part of the NM community. This pride is a big component to having a thriving and successful school system. Without this pride and participation, you are opening the door even further for students to choose to attend high school elsewhere. decreasing student population and exacerbating our budget issues. The memories that have been created for so many kids as a result of playing middle school sports cannot be overstated. As an NM graduate and someone who played middle school sports in the district, I can tell you that if I hadn't had those opportunities, my life would likely have taken a very different path. Please consider all these factors in your decision-making. At a time of a huge amount of change and uncertainty, let's try to maintain one of the biggest sources of joy and enrichment for these kids. Please do not underestimate the importance of middle school athletics. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. All right. Moving on to the chairperson report. So I do have a few things. I do want to address that the things that appear on the agenda, the things under the budget, like the full day payment of kindergarten, elimination of sports, things like that, that are listed in that area, are placeholders or discussion points that our committee may discuss during that time. And I felt that a transparency was needed to the public to know that those things could be discussed during that time. And when we get to that area, we'll discuss those and the committee will have their input. The other thing about the two roles that you're seeing tonight with the operations director and the assistant manager, when we get to those areas, those will also be explained by Randy and by Superintendent Morgan. So everyone, just be calm and patient. We will get to that. But I felt that it'd be important that we have all transparency to the public. All right, now, Craig Hansen did take some of my thunder here with him thanking some members that this could be their last meeting. So Tom Casey, Will Hackler, and June McNeil. I thank you for your time serving on the committee. I know that it has not been easy. I will be inviting you back for a more formal thank you when we meet in person. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for your dedicated service to the school committee. Your time and commitment has played a vital role in shaping the educational experience for our students, families, and staff at NM. Your contributions made a lasting impact, and I am grateful for all the important work that you have done. Thank you for your service and leadership. That's my first thank you. So thank you. My next one is extended to Superintendent Morgan, Committee Member Kim Craven, Townsend Administrator Nelson Mui, Pepperell Select Board Member Chuck Walkovich. I thank you for your powerful advocacy and for taking the time to testify before the Massachusetts Ways and Means Committee on Tuesday on the behalf of regional educational funding. Your voices, stories, and insights play a critical role in highlighting the real needs of our students, educators, and communities. Speaking up in such a public forum requires both courage and commitment, and your dedication to ensuing equitable, adequate funding for our schools and communities is deeply appreciated. Your testimony helps bring attention to the vital importance of investing in our public education system, not just for today, but for future of every child at North Middlesex Regional District and our communities. We are truly grateful to your leadership and your continued support of education. Then I have one more area, and it's about advocacy. I now turn to our communities, and I cannot stress enough how important it is for people to raise their voices all the way to the State House. Hold on. I lost my place for a second. The kids testifying was very emotional, but the one most powerful moment was when I witnessed on Tuesday was a senator lifting a binder filled with 1,300 letters he received from his constituents about school funding. Too often I hear from our communities, my letter won't make a difference, but I assure you it absolutely can. Think of a snowbank. It began with a single snowflake. One snowflake becomes 2, then 10, then hundreds. and soon it's something too large to ignore. That one letter, your voice, is a snowflake, and just like the snowbank, it grows. That binder didn't start with 1,300 letters. It started with one. People spoke up, and their collective voices became impossible to overlook. So please write, speak up, share your story. It matters, and it makes a difference to our district and our communities. All right, on to Superintendent Morgan's report.
Thank you. So I do want to start with just a couple pieces of good news this evening. I'd like to congratulate Becky Jackson, who is the recipient of the Don Salvucci Award for promoting civic education. We're proud to share that Rebecca Jackson, a high school social studies teacher, department chair, student council co-advisor, row Kappa advisor, has been selected as this year's recipient of the Don Salvucci Award. Lori Smith, the principal of North Middlesex Regional High School, nominated Ms. Jackson in recognition of her outstanding capabilities and unwavering dedication to fostering civic understanding and student engagement. Through her leadership, both in and out of the classroom, Ms. Jackson has inspired students to think critically, lead with purpose, and participate actively in their communities. The Don Salvucci Award is named in honor of Don Salvucci, former president of the Massachusetts Council for Social Studies in the late 1970s. It's a tribute to educators who championed democratic ideals. Salvucci was a visionary who embraced emerging technologies, producing the first NERC conference early in Apple Computer, and who helped shape student learning through initiatives like the Constitution Bicentennial events that encourage deep dives into local history. The award recognizes classroom educators who bring the principles of citizenship to life, connecting the past with the present and empowering students to become informed, responsible members of society. Rebecca Jackson embodies this mission through her work every day, and we're thrilled to see her efforts honored on this level. Please join us in congratulating Ms. Jackson on this exceptional and well-deserved achievement. Moving on, I would also like to thank Ms. Lisa Camo for organizing and running our first Family Literacy Night on Tuesday, March 27th at North Middlesex Regional High School. It was a very well-attended event by families and staff, and it was truly a community event that was filled with read-alouds, pizza, and other fun activities. So thank you to Lisa Camo. And finally, I'd like to thank Dr. Kevin Cormier for organizing NM's second annual Credit for Life Fair, which is scheduled for Monday, May 19th from 8:30 to 10 a.m. in the North Middlesex Regional High School Gymnasium. This, coupled with our personal finance courses at the high school level, is providing our graduates with some much-needed skills in this area, which were a result of students who advocated for this with their Civic Action Project in 2024. So again, this was something some of Ms. Jackson's students, who I mentioned previously for the Don Salvucci Award, bringing something very important to life, and these personal finance courses are a very important part of what we offer at the high school. I also just want to build on what Ms. Martin said with regard to our visit to the Joint Ways and Means Committee meeting on Tuesday. I'd like to personally thank our two students who attended, Keenan Francois and Shannon Kelly. I'd also like to thank community members Kelly Kelly, Jen Fors, and Jackie White, as well as Carla Lima and Rick Bailey. And I'd also like to thank our school committee member, Lisa Martin. I'd like to thank Chuck Walkovich, who was one of our Board of Selectmen members, school committee Kim Craven, and also Mr. Cormier, who also attended from the school district. All of them took up a significant portion of their day on Tuesday to go to the State House and advocate for NM in regional school funding. It was an interesting day for sure, and I'm hopeful that the message was heard and that appropriate action will be taken in the very near future. In the meantime, again, just to echo what Ms. Martin had said, I highly encourage people to advocate by writing to your legislator whenever possible. We have to maintain this momentum. It is the first time in my 7 years in the district where I have seen some, I feel as though there's some potential momentum to move us towards being funded fairly. As I shared at that meeting, it's very difficult when you look back from 2001 to 2024. Our Chapter 70 funding has only increased 2.5%, and the state has increased 75%. So we are clearly not being funded properly, and we definitely need your advocacy in writing to your state legislator. So please reach out. Also like to provide an update on Ashby Elementary. As many of you know, NM will be consolidating its physical footprint in FY26 due to the budget, with AES being taken offline for the year. There were some questions around the overall impact financially, as well as whether or not the Mass School Building Authority would require any action of closure to be permanent. That said, we have been advocating for a 1-year delay in making any permanent decisions, and I would like to personally thank Secretary and Acting Commissioner of Education Patrick Tutwiler for his advocacy for NM. The MSBA has authorized NM and has given us permission to wait 1 full year before making any final decisions around Ashby. And I would like to again thank Mr. Tutwiler for his support. Without his support in reaching out to MSBA, this would not have occurred. This is not something, to my knowledge, that MSBA has authorized previously. So again, thank you to Secretary and Acting Commissioner Tutwiler. An update on the potential move. With the upcoming consolidation process up and running, a team made up of NM staff has been formed. The team is going through initial logistics that require a move to be successful and is weighing between keeping the move in-house or contracting it out. Additionally, D-Bus has started examining bus routes and should have some type of a contract to us or proposal shortly for the upcoming school year. Finally, I'll speak on some other items later on in the agenda, but I did want to touch base on some of the reductions that we are looking at for FY26, and this was shared with the House Ways and Means Committee. In total, at the elementary level, we are looking at the reduction of 7 elementary teachers, 1 assistant principal, and 2.77 paraprofessionals. The elementary teachers are from all 3 buildings. Paraprofessionals are from Varnum Brook and Squanicook. At the middle school level, the reduction of 6 middle school teachers, 4 from Nissitissit and 2 from Hawthorne Brook, 2 paraprofessionals, 1 from Nissitissit and 1 from Varnum Brook. Even though it's a middle school position, a lot of this is based on seniority, as well as a 0.6 registered behavior technician from the middle school. At the high school level, a reduction of 3 teachers, and district-wide 2 custodians. So in total, it is 24.37 FTEs. In addition to that, we've made reductions in the areas of curriculum programming, technology, and we'll be reducing the PR firm from the budget, or eliminating the PR firm, I should say, from the budget for FY26. That is all that I have for now, and we'll speak later on in the meeting on some of the other agenda items.
Thank you, Brad. Moving on, we are to the FY 2024 audit review. Nancy Haynes?
Yes,
And
I'm hoping you can promote Rebecca Gamsby from CBIZ. She's going to give us a brief presentation on the FY24 audit.
She should be all set.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Go
Rebecca,
ahead, Nancy.
if it's okay with the committee, I'm going to share the presentation, and Rebecca, just give me a holler when you're ready to move on slide by slide.
I will. Thank you.
Are you able to see my screen? Okay.
Yes, now I can. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank
You can skip to the next slide if you would like. So I will give a brief introduction, an overview of the audit process, and then an overview of the 2024 audit results. Next slide. So again, my name is Rebecca Gamsby. I am here with CBIZ CPAs. I am a director with CBIZ and a shareholder with CBIZ CPAs. When we originally began the fiscal year 24 audit process, the district had engaged with Powers & Sullivan. Powers & Sullivan was a small local firm in Massachusetts, which in February of 2024 merged with Markham LLP, a national firm. Then during the audit of fiscal year 24 in November of 2024, Markham LLP merged with CBIZ and CBIZ CPAs. I would like to let you know that during that process, there have been no changes to the audit team that has been performing the district's audit for fiscal year 24. It is the same team that performed the audit for fiscal year 23, and we plan to continue that with fiscal year 25. We only have additional assistance behind us, behind the scenes. The fiscal year 2024 audit was actually issued under Markham LLP. Next slide, Nancy. This is just a quick overview, but I did want to let you know that CBIZ CPAs is a national CPA firm. We are headquartered in New York. We operate under an alternative practice structure with CBIZ Inc., which is a business consulting, tax, and financial services provider. So together, we are one of the top 11 accounting firms in the country now. There's a little bit more information here on the next couple of slides. The other important part of this is we do have a significant government practice now within New England. Prior to our merger, you might be familiar with Melanson, previously known as Melanson Heath CPAs. They also merged with Markham in January of 2023. So we are one of the largest governmental auditing providers within New England now. We can skip to the next slide. So to jump into a little bit of your audit overview, the principal objective of our work during fiscal year 24 is the expression of our audit opinions on the district's financial statements and on the district's compliance with uniform federal guidance, which relates to your federal expenditures. We perform our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards in the United States of America and the standards for financial audits contained in the government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General. It's also referred to as Yellow Book. Our responsibility is that we plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement and that they are fairly presented in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP. Management, however, so Nancy and her team, are responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of those financial statements in accordance with GAAP. Our audit process takes part over two fieldwork segments. We started preliminary audit work in May of 2024. During preliminary field work, we begin our risk assessment where we document the district's internal controls. We have discussions with management and staff. We start our testing of controls, and we do test compliance with laws, regulations, MGL, and grant requirements. We also start to test your census data related to your net pension and your net OPEB liabilities, which are the biggest liabilities that the district reports on your financial statements. We continue our visit with Nancy in her office during our year-end visit. So once Nancy has closed the ledgers and provided us with the final audit numbers, the team went back out in August of 2024. We verify your year-end account balances. We take a look at reconciliations. We're testing all of those balances. We make sure that the financial statements are in compliance with GAAP, that any new standards have been implemented, that there's appropriate cutoff procedures related to your expenditures. We review your budgetary controls, and we review your major federal award programs if they are subject to testing for the year under audit. Part of our process is that we have to review some of the significant risks. Management override of internal controls is always considered a significant risk for all audits. We design our procedures to test and respond to this risk, including reviewing adjusting journal entries, significant accounting estimates for potential bias, and evaluating any unusual transactions we may have noted. So at the result of this audit, we did not report any significant findings related to management override of internal controls. So while we're required to report this to you, we did not find any deviations. We further review for proper revenue recognition related to your major revenue streams, which would be your member town assessments and then your intergovernmental revenues, so state and federal revenue sources. We also need to consider your IT environment, which specifically relates to the general ledger and some of the other systems used. At the end of the audit, we were able to issue an unmodified audit opinion, which is a clean audit opinion over the financial statements. So they were fairly materially presented in accordance with GAAP. We also were able to issue an unmodified, so a clean audit opinion with respect to the major federal program that was audited, which this year, the significant federal program was the Child Nutrition Cluster. So we took a look at the school lunch program. We did not note any instances of non-compliance or any other matters that would be required to be reported to you. We did not note any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies related to the internal controls either. The financial statements can be broken down into a few segments when you're looking at them. The first 3 pages are the audit opinion. Those are the only pages that we as the auditors own. The rest of the financial statements are a direct reflection of Nancy and Nancy's office takes accountability for those. They begin with management's discussion and analysis, which is just a brief overview of the significant activity for the year and the year-end account balances. They transition into the basic financial statements, which are the most significant portion. They have the full accrual statements that include your capital, the district's capital assets, the net pension liability, the net OPEB liability, all of your debt, and your modified accrual statements, so your general fund, which is what you're most familiar with looking at the budget related to. There's also significant notes to your financial statements. So for your financial highlights, looking right at the budget for the general fund, for the district, the final budget was $63.7 million. The budget used $2 million of excess and deficiency E&D to balance the budget for 2024. Revenues did exceed budget by $605,000, and expenditures and encumbrances were under budget by $1.3 million. The general fund balance at year end was $6.6 million, which does include the capital stabilization fund as required by GAAP. This can be seen on page 16 of your financials. The general fund balance, it did represent 9.8% of expenditures, and the unassigned fund balance, so of that $6.6 million, $2.4 million was available for appropriation. Assigned fund balance included $3.5 million, so carry forwards of expenditures to the next year, and then a use of E&D for the fiscal year 25 budget of $2.7 million. As I noted, go back one slide for me, Nancy. Sorry, thank you. As I noted before, your capital stabilization fund is included in fund balance of your general fund. At year end, there was $671,000 within the capital stabilization fund, which does represent a $273,000 increase from fiscal year 23. As you may know, the district is part of Middlesex County retirement system. So the net pension liability reported is a direct reflection of the Middlesex County retirement system's financial statements. The liability is allocated by their actuary. At year end, the district reported an unfunded pension liability of $14.6 million related to the system, and the proportionate share of that entire system for North Middlesex is less than 1%. There was a contribution from North Middlesex to the system of $1.4 million for the year. The district's most significant liability that's reported on your full accrual financial statements relates to your net OPEB liability. So your other post-employment benefit liability, it's the unfunded portion of this future liability that's determined by your actuary. At year end, you did have a trust fund that had a balance of $1.1 million. Included in there was pre-funding of $150,000 for fiscal year 24. The total OPEB liability as calculated by the actuary at June 30 of 2024 was $90.7 million. So that left an unfunded liability of $89.6 million that's reported on the district's full accrual financial statements. There's significant note disclosures related to both the pension liability and the net OPEB liability within notes 10 and 11 of the financial statements, if you would like to see further information. There's also trend information for the past 10 years within the back portion of the financials, RSI, the required supplementary information, that can show you essentially what the net pension liability and net OPEB liability have been for the past 10 years, along with your contributions to each. The last significant liability the district reports relates to your long-term debt. Long-term debt was $27.7 million, while short-term debt was $18.7 million at year end. The majority of the debt that's outstanding does relate to your high school project. Along with the general fund, the district does report a few other major funds within the governmental fund statements. They mostly relate to some of the capital projects that have been ongoing with the high school, Barnum Brook, Hawthorne Brook, and Squanicook. Moving on to the town's CFA, so the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, the district's. The district's federal expenditures for fiscal year 24 were $3.4 million. As there was over $750,000 spent, that means that the district had to have a single audit, a major program audit of one of the significant federal expenditures. Up for a rotation this year was the child nutrition cluster. So we do review in detail the school lunch program. Specifically, we take a look at the program's expenditures, all the disbursements, including procurement. We review student eligibility for free reduced price meals. We do have to take a look at what students are eligible for full free meals under state standards and under federal standards. And we take a look at the meal reimbursements that are submitted to the state for federal and state reimbursements. During this review, we did not note any non-compliance or internal control exceptions. As I noted before, this also received a clean opinion. The last few slides are really here for your reference. Excuse me. There's some items here that talk about management's responsibilities for the audit, essentially the fair preparation of the financials and reporting all of the information to us during the audit that's requested, providing information to us. The next slide discusses what our responsibilities are when it comes to the audit, as far as expressing an opinion on the financial statements, the standards that we have to audit under, and ensuring that we report any of the deficiencies to management and therefore the school committee. The final slides are, again, just a few areas of reference for you, just some areas of audit emphasis that we like to provide. Otherwise, I believe we covered most of the important aspects of the audit. So if there's any questions, I am happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, well, this is your line of it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So Rebecca, I'm sorry, I'm the finance chair, so we'll just start with that part of it. So do you foresee any changes in the state or federal funding coming forward?
That part has been hard to say. We've been receiving that question a lot from our clients right now. So unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball to necessarily help with that situation. We tend to come in behind the scenes after your finances are done for the year. It's really where we stand.
Yeah. Do you submit a management letter in this process? Yeah.
So we do if there are significant findings, and we did not have any this year. So we discussed prior management letter recommendations with Nancy, noted that they were resolved, and did not issue a management letter for fiscal year 24.
Okay. Is there any way to see anything, from NM versus other districts or somewhere we can see that, like financial results? I mean, you mentioned in your first slide or something about, you do 400 other municipalities and districts. Is there any way to see any like where we stand versus some of the others with some of these pieces?
So most districts, I would say, do post their financial statements on their website. Many of them do. There's also a few resources where if they do have a single audit that you are able to search for them within the Federal Audit Clearinghouse database. their financial statements that have been issued to date.
Okay.
I can certainly provide that link for Nancy. So we can't hand out other client financials, but I can certainly refer you to areas where you certainly can find them.
Okay. Do you guys, publish any like best practices for districts or anything like that?
We do not specifically publish any best practices, no.
Okay.
Usually that's more of Desi's area,
All right.
Masbo's.
So DESI's a good place for those best practices on that side of things.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for
Thanks so
having me,
much
and
for
thank
being
you to
here.
Nancy and her team for all the assistance that we've received during the audit.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Of course, happy to be here.
All right. We are moving on to Pitney Bowes. That is Nancy's area as well, with Pitney Bowes postage meter. All right, Nancy.
We have included in the packet a couple of options that we've been looking at. We need to renew the postage meter and the postage meter rental. We plan on using a state contract, OFF 39, and within that contract, we have the option of choosing how many years we would like to go out for the lease. It's essentially a lease and a reduction in postage cost to use that, the OFF 39. The one that I'm suggesting is to continue for the 5-year, which is 60-month, is the greater savings, if everybody was comfortable with that. And anything over 3 years requires it comes to the school committee for approval. Right now, I'm hoping to, I think it would save approximately just around $2,500 to do that over the contract. So it will be a savings to go the longer distance. If we think we are not going to need postage in 5 years, it may not be the best, but I'm pretty comfortable going forward with the 5-year, 60-month option. And I just don't know if there's any specific questions about the lease or how it works. Or if you want to make a motion to authorize the superintendent to enter into the 60-month agreement, or
Randy, I think you were up first.
Sorry, I thought June was there first. Just like the potential savings statement from Pitney Bowes, is that our usage or is that just a general from Pitney Bowes?
I think ours is in that package. I'm not sure where exactly you're.
Yeah, it says, oh, North Middlesex District. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the majority of the first class letters that we're sending out? Because it looks like it's over 4,000, I'm assuming per year, that we're sending out.
It really varies. We do have, obviously we have checks that go out every single week. We've got letters to families. There's a fair amount of special education flats that go out.
Okay.
It does change different times of the year. There are letters that might go out or food service notifications, things of that nature.
Okay. And the price that we're quoted for the 5-year contract, that's just a steady, no matter how much we mail, or?
We also have to purchase the mail, the postage as well. It's a discounted rate though.
It's a discounted rate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Has our usage gone up or down over the years, or is it pretty steady right now?
Honestly, I hadn't looked at that. I think it's very steady. I don't know of any, in fact, it might have gone down slightly because we had, there's a lot of things in the district that we're no longer mailing hard copies, but we're doing it electronically. So there's quite a bit of that. There's still some reliance on, giving people a hard copy of specific documents. I did look at the smaller mailing system. There's 2 options. The main difference is the feeding. So when you feed the letters in on the lower cost one, you have to manually, literally feed them in one at a time. So if you have 60 letters or 60 checks every single week, you're manually feeding it. I felt like that might not be the best approach, and the manpower to do that would be kind of painful.
No, I wouldn't suggest that with
Yeah.
the volume that we have, but thank you.
Yep. I did look at it though.
Thank you, Nancy.
Mhm.
June, did you have a question?
Well, I was just looking at the form that shows our current monthly was 247.32. So what's being proposed is almost $100 less as far as the machine renewal. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, it will be less money for the renewal, and it'll be regardless of even the length of term that we select. But I think that that Pitney Bowes themselves have come down in the state contract, and after a certain number of years they do rebid these things. So they were able to lower that lease rate.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
that's great.
thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions?
I will move that we approve the 5-year lease for $159.15 monthly payment.
I second.
All right, so that is Randy and Lisa Bloom.
Just a question.
Anyone have a question?
The motion was saying that we authorize the superintendent to execute the contracts for this.
Okay,
Do we need to do that, Randy?
I apologize. I wasn't looking at the agenda when I did that. So, okay, I will move that the school committee vote to authorize the superintendent to approve and execute all necessary contracts and documents for up to a 60-month lease with the Pitney Bowes for postage services per state contract OFF 39.
Second.
so we have Randy and Will. All right, June,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Kim's, that's okay. She'll abstain. Will Hackler,
Yes.
Tom Casey,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right, moving on to the next topic. Out-of-state trip requests. We have Miss Olmsted. Would you make the presentation?
Sure. We have 2 out-of-state field trip requests. One is for our choir to go to Delta Dental Stadium. They will perform the national anthem there. That field trip is taking place on June 7th. It does not require any buses. There are parents who are bringing the students there. And we have funds in reserve in case anybody cannot afford the cost of the ticket, which is about $12.
All right. Any questions for the field trip? Randy?
How many students do we have in the choir these days?
We have, if we're looking at both the choirs put together, probably around 75.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations to all of them and good luck with that.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions?
Can we just
All
put
right.
these 2 together?
Sure. We'll go to the next one. You can
Yep. The second field trip is to bring choir and our band students to Mystic Aquarium, or to Mystic Seaport, rather. They will do an outdoor performance there. They'll attend a presentation, and then they have an opportunity to explore the exhibits that the Seaport has to offer. They'll also visit the aquarium and learn about the animals there, see a sea lion show, and experience the touch tanks. That is another opportunity for both our band and choir students to be able to perform in public. Similar to the other field trip, there were fundraisers that were optional for students and families who wanted to participate in order to be able to afford this opportunity. But our band is very much looking forward to attending.
Are they going on buses?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I will take a motion to approve both of the field trips.
So moved.
All
I
right.
second.
So we have June and Lisa Bloom. We'll get the second. All right, June.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Lisa Bloom.
Yes.
Will Hackler. Will.
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
Kim. Yes, Kim? Just shake your
Yes.
head.
Yes.
All right. And myself, yes. I hope the kids have a lovely time on the field trips.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. We are moving right along, and we have Dr. Reese, who has the next 4 presentations for us.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Ms. Martin, do you want me to just briefly go through all 4 since they're all 4 grant approvals and then answer any questions? Would that be easier?
Yes, that would. But before you do that, I want to congratulate you on your, and you're going to have to get me right on this, what you were appointed to. So can you explain to everyone?
Yes, thank you very much for bringing it up. Was appointed to the executive board for NAFIPA, which is the National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators. Currently, I represent Massachusetts as one of 2 members on the general board. And so now I will serve as an at-large member for the executive board. And we provide support and advocacy for federal education programs, Title I, Title IIA, Title III, nationally.
All right, thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you. So we have 4 grants for approval this evening. The first, as Mr. Morgan mentioned earlier, is the Credit for Life Fair. Thanks to the work of Dr. Cormier, we were able to get a grant for the 2nd year in a row through the State Treasurer's Financial Education Innovation Fund. And essentially, this will provide funding for us to be able to just implement the Credit for Life Fair, which is currently planned for May for our senior students. And it gives them an opportunity to explore what it's like after high school, after college. They get to pick a career. They get to make decisions around whether they want to rent, live with their family, buy a house, and kind of learn what the implications are as they make those decisions, even down to whether or not they want to have a pet and what the costs are associated with having a pet. So it's a great opportunity for our students. They really enjoyed it last year, and we are happy to be able to offer it again to them this year. The second grant is through it's through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's the Mass Farming Reinforces Education and Student Health Grant. And this grant came to my attention, thank you, through Carl Edmonds up at the high school. And really what we're going to be using the funds from this grant for is to enhance the greenhouse. He wanted to do some work on the windows and provide some automatic ventilation systems through that, as well as elevating our garden club and giving students in the garden club an opportunity to create some lessons for our middle school students and elementary school students around just what it means to farm locally and getting a better understanding of eating healthy. They'll also be working to do some food tasting at the schools as well. So we're happy to be able to offer that. And again, thanks to Carl Edmonds. And then the final 2 grants, which are actually pretty substantial, but they're both over 3 years. The 1-8 Foundation, which is a local nonprofit organization that supports schools across Massachusetts in implementing high quality instructional programs. They had 2 grant programs, or they had a number of them. We applied for 2 this year. One was for the Open Sci Ed program, which is a curriculum for science instruction. Our middle school teachers had an opportunity to visit Fitchburg to learn how they've been implementing the 1-8 program, or the Open SciEd program, I'm sorry. And we're really impressed with both the curriculum as well as the alignment with the high quality instructional practices that the students have currently been using through our ELA and math program. So this grant that was received for both Nissitissit and Hawthorne Brook will provide 3 years of professional development and materials for our teachers to be able to implement the program with integrity. And then finally, we also got a second grant through the 1-8 Foundation to upgrade or enhance our 8th grade civics education program by using the DKP program, which is the Democratic Knowledge Project curriculum. And again, our teachers had an opportunity to meet with the staff that have an understanding in implementing the program, and selected this as a real strong program that's in alignment with the practices we're currently using across all content areas. So again, this will be a 3-year grant that will cover the professional development costs for our staff.
Thank you, Gary. Any questions about these grants? Randy?
First, as usual, thank you very much for going after these grants. I think it's a great opportunity for our students and for the staff for a lot of these grants. My question is, do any of these have funds that we need to lay out, either matching funds to go with the grant, or future funds for non-renewable materials or anything like that for these programs?
Sure. So with the science program, there is some consumable items that we would have to purchase each year. Both middle schools have line items in their budget that this wouldn't exceed the cost that we're currently covering through those. The DKP civics program does have a $300 annual fee that we need to pay through for both middle schools to participate. Again, those funds are currently allocated within our local budget, so it's not adding anything more to our local budget. And both programs are online open source curriculum materials, so there wouldn't be any additional curriculum costs beyond the 3 years.
And are these replacing certain curriculum or programs that we have in place now?
Yes, so we have been using for science probably about 6 years ago. Our teachers worked with other districts across the state to develop kind of our local statewide grown curriculum with changes to the curriculum standards and expectations. That was great, and that the teachers, worked hard on. It just needed to be updated because it wasn't reflective of the current standards. So this replaces that. And they had been using for civics in grade 8 loosely the iCivics program. But at the time that we had implemented that, there wasn't an extensive amount of training. So the teachers were kind of using that as well as building in their own practices. So this will just provide greater consistency across the 2 buildings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? All right. I am going to ask that each statement be read, but can be read as a group because it does involve money amounts. Does that make sense to everyone? All right. Who wants to have the...
I move
Okay, go ahead,
that we
Will.
vote to accept the $3,125 credit for the Life Fair grant from the State Treasurer's Financial Education Innovation Fund. I also move that we vote to accept the $6,500 Mass Farming Reinforced Education Student Health Grant, as well as accepting the $33,600 for the HBMS and $44,100 for the Nissitissit Middle School Open Science Ed grant from the 1-8 Foundation. And lastly, to accept the $7,070 for the HBMS and $12,840 for NMS Democratic Knowledge Project DKP grant from the 1-8 Foundation.
Do I have a second?
I second.
That was Will Hackler and Lisa Bloom. Any more discussion? All right, then we will vote. June,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
Kim Craven, okay, Tom Casey,
Yes.
Will Hackler,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right, moving on.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Reese. Moving on, we are moving to the flagpole and plaque dedication. All right. Everyone could see in the packet the pictures of a flagpole and plaque that were installed on the campus of the high school. And they also did wind wraps around the dugouts. This was done by the Archambault family, donated these, and I have a letter from Lynn Archambault Dawson that I'm going to read. After my dad's death in 2023, our family decided to ask for contributions in lieu of flowers to the NM Booster Club. My dad was a founder of the Boosters in the 80s, which has raised many thousands of dollars over the years for the sports teams in the district. According to Hall of Fame football coach Sandy Ruggles, the NM Boosters would not exist without Frank Archambault. He was also very involved, proud parent and grandparent, and an avid supporter of NM sports, watching his children and grandchildren play in 13 North Middlesex sports. He was the president of the Pepperell Youth Little League, which oversaw softball at the time, and also was on the Pepperell Recreation Committee. So he was an integral part of athletics and developing athletes from an young age. In his death, he raised about $4,000 from his services, and our family met with Matt Dawson, the athletic director, to discuss where these funds were mostly needed. The Boosters and Matt agreed that the school needed a flagpole at the softball field with a flag and coverings and wrappings for the dugouts. Mike's daughter Emily plays for the softball team, so it seemed very fitting that we could help in this way. Through several meetings with stakeholders such as the Booster Club members Brad, Tim McMahon, Dave Amari, and Nancy Haynes, we were able to get these things implemented for the beginning of the season last year. And that was from Lynn Archambault Dawson, who is Frank's daughter. Any questions or comments? And so we pulled this out as a dedication, since it is a dedication to someone who has brought many memories and things to our community and made a great contribution to our sports athletics teams. Any questions? Randy?
First off, I'd like to thank the Archambault family. It is always great to hear about people before my time, but giving to this community, giving to the school community and the greater community. So thank you very much, and thank you for honoring him with this flagpole. Not to take away from the dedication, very much in favor of it, just so that everyone understands, this should have come to the school committee before it was erected. We're approving this, or we're going to vote to approve this, hopefully in retrospect to when that happened. But for anybody who wants to dedicate going forward anything, this does need to come through the school committee before any funds are donated and before anything is erected. We do appreciate all of the sentiment. We have a number of different things in the district that have been dedicated. We are open to dedications, but state law says that the school committee does need to accept beforehand all donations. So,
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else? All right. Would somebody make a motion to accept the donation from the Frank Archambault family?
I will move that the school committee vote to approve the dedication of a flagpole and plaque in honor of Frank Archambault.
I second.
And that was seconded by June. So we have Randy and a second by June. Sorry, Lisa. All right. But I'll let you vote first, Lisa. Lisa. Oops.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Randy.
Yes.
June.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
And Tom.
Yes.
And myself is yes. And I thank the Archambault family for their donation to the district. All right. Moving on to the tennis courts. Can we add, Robin, will you add Alan Leo?
Yep,
If he's on the call yet.
Should be all.
All right, can you hear me?
All right. Yes. So, Alan, I'm going to only give you about 3 minutes to explain this.
All right. All right. Thank you,
Okay,
North Middlesex Regional School District School Committee members, for the opportunity to present this situation here. I am the chairman of the Pepperell Recreation Commission over in the town of Pepperell. And we have been looking at the site where the former tennis courts were at Varnum Brook that are in disarray. The pavement's been scrapped. The fences have been scrapped, and it's in pretty tough shape. Unfortunately, well, Pepperell itself takes care of this area usually, and takes care of the fields in terms of mowing the lawn, seeding, and whatnot. So what we've done is we have a master plan that has directed us to look at creating softball fields here. Because what we have up right above that area, which is what we call Lower Varnum, there's 3 leagues that vie for that space annually, and it's a big fight every year between softball, lacrosse, and soccer. So part of the effort of getting rid of the congestion on Lower Varnum is putting softball fields where the tennis courts are, and then also decommissioning the softball field on Town Field so that we could hopefully put pickleball courts on there or tennis courts. Because one of the idea is get anything the public would use during the day off of property that's near the school, i.e. where the tennis courts were, it would never make sense to put those tennis courts back there. So I come before you today to see if we could get your approval to have an engineering, architectural, and site plan study done for this area to see if it would work, and how much it would cost to do that. So this would be a 2-step process. This is merely for the engineering firm to do those 3 things to this area. So it's not to go forward with it. We would definitely approach this body again, if it comes that the town would want to go forward with this. But right now we have money, and just to give you a quick background, the Community Preservation Committee has awarded us $15,700 to get this study done. But it's contingent on the school committee approving it, saying that's okay to get the study done. And then we get a written letter, maybe from Nancy, that says, everyone says this is okay. And then we'll go to a town meeting, and a town meeting will need approval there as well. So it's a lot of different processes, and you have no clue of how many people had to be involved in this before you even got here. So that's it. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
Yeah.
So I do want to say that if a study is conducted, it will be off school hours, or it will be conducted and they will give us notification if there are going to be people on school grounds, just so that the public is aware if people are
100%.
looking at the property.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
And we should, let's make sure we clarify that too in any letter, provided this body approves this.
Thank you. And again, this is just a study.
That's
I
all it
know
is.
that it's listed on the agenda as use and development, but it's just a study to see what the use and development would be.
Yes, correct.
All right.
So do
Anyone
we
else?
need to modify the motion then?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we will modify the motion.
So I move the school committee approve the study, whatever, the filing of the study for the Varnum Brook tennis courts by the Pepperell Recreation Department.
Randy, I will come to
Second.
you. Second, Lisa. Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. All right, any questions? Randy?
Nancy, all of the land over there, I'm always confused with. Is this land that we are leasing from the town and we'd have to change our lease if we gave it over? Is this something that we own that we have to give back? Where does that piece of land lie as far as the school committee's ownership?
The Varnum Brook parcel in land that goes directly behind, including the tennis courts and the backfields, is owned by the school district. There's no lease here. I think what would likely happen is if we were to move forward with a project, we would need to have some kind of agreement with the town of Pepperell, laying that out, like a facility use agreement or some type of lease contract.
Okay. Is that piece of land, just as far as to think about it, is it kind of like right in the middle of everything that we own? Is it the far end of something that we own?
It's past, if you're looking and you're in the back parking lot of Varnum Brook and you keep walking straight, it's that back piece that just
But
goes
is that the
back
end of
almost.
our property? Or do we have property beyond that?
No, that would be the end of the property.
Okay.
Other than Nissitissit, which is to the right, but Nissitissit is actually owned by the town of Pepperell, so they do
Right.
own some fields to the right
Right.
of that.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about how it was if it was abutting their land, or in the middle of ours, and how we were going to parcel that out if it came to actually giving that over to them. Okay,
Yeah, it's
thank you.
right at the end there before like the soccer fields and
Yeah,
there's some
I
other
know
softball
physically
fields.
where they are, but I just don't
Yeah.
know where our boundaries are.
All right. Any other questions? Tom, Casey?
Sorry, I know the motion's already been made, but I'm wondering if we wanted to add something just in the language in terms of like at no cost to the district.
We probably do want to amend the motion. Will you amend your motion?
Of course. I don't even know what I said. I move to approve the study at the cost of the Pepperell Recreation Department for the tennis courts or former tennis courts at Varnum Brook Elementary School.
And you put the money in there, right? Like not contingent on us providing money.
Robin,
Okay, restate it.
I think so.
Just start again. Robin, did we get it?
Yeah, he said at the cost of the
At the
Pepperell
cost of
Recreation
Pepperell.
Department.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, thank you. June. So that was Will amending and then June. All right, so let's vote on the amendment. Correct? I have the order correct? All right, June.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Lisa Bloom.
Yes.
Will Hackler.
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
Kim Craven.
Yes.
And myself is yes. So that was the amendment. Now let's move back to the original motion. I'll start with June.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Lisa Bloom.
Yes.
Will Hackler.
Yes.
Kim Craven.
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
And myself is yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you.
Now moving on to the preschool tuition, we have Miss Upton here to present.
Hi, would you like me or to present the proposal that is in the agenda, or is that not necessary?
We have a copy, right?
You
in
have a
our-
copy in the agenda, yes. Okay.
If you want to, yes.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
No, that's okay. So
Okay.
in preparing this proposal for you tonight, we took a look at 9 area districts, including some single districts as well as some regional districts, to compare our rates to other districts to make sure that we were not proposing too much of an increase. And in looking at what other districts are charging, we felt as though a 4% increase, I believe in the agenda, it accidentally says we were proposing a 5% increase to the tuition rates. I don't know if that was a mistake or not.
I am sure we would be happy
Yes.
to go with 4%.
Okay, so we calculated a 4% increase, which is a small increase across the board. We also are proposing some fees that are in alignment with the current extended day fees. So the registration fee exists currently, but an insufficient funds fee of $30, a late payment fee if a payment is made more than 10 days after the first of the month. Currently, we do have a wait list for tuition paying districts.
I have a question here. How many students do we have participating in preschool?
In our tuition paying students, how many are there?
Sure, and overall tuition paying, and then how many students overall in all of our program?
I don't have that number up. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
I can
That's
look that
okay.
up.
Anyone else have any questions? Randy?
And so I know you're new in the role. Do you happen to know, or maybe Brad or Nancy would know, when was the last time we raised these, and how often are we raising for these prices?
Brad or Nancy, do you want me to answer? Or?
Do you have the date? I have it in that fee schedule. I can pull it. I think might have been last year or the year before.
I believe it was last year too. I'm trying to find it.
Last year, there was a 5% increase approved. I don't know about the year before.
I was going to say there was a 5% increase. I remember voting on it last year.
And that's really a lot of this is in line with increase in special education costs as well.
Yeah, it was definitely last year.
Anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, one more. The insufficient funds and the late payment fees, are those new this year or? Okay, so.
Yes, those are new proposed fees, and the cost aligns with the extended day program. So we took a look at the fees that they have. There have been some situations where there have been consistent late payments, and we wanted to also include the insufficient funds, which is also part of the extended day fees, just to bring district-wide alignment with that program.
All right, June. Whoops, you're on mute, June. That's okay.
Sorry. Do we have any families with multiple children in this program. I'm just wondering if it's possible to offer any kind of discounted rate when you have multiple students. Just to me, these rates already seem high, and I think that every year I'm a little removed from preschool age at this point. So I understand everything has gone up. I would be interested in actually seeing the list of the comparisons of the other schools too. But I don't know if that's something that you have handy, if you can kind of reference like what the other towns are that you looked at and what their rates were. But like I said, it's a little bit of sticker shock every time I see this and every time we go up on it. But I keep thinking for parents that have multiple children in the program that, could become a hardship as it has increased quite a few times in the past few years. So, yeah.
Do you want me to add to that, Aaron, a little bit? I can,
Sure.
if you'd like. So I just wanted to add again, this, although it is a preschool, it's an integrated preschool. And that comes with certain requirements as far as the way the population and how the population for each classroom is made up. So it's not a traditional preschool. It is something that comes at a significant cost to the school district. Just again through the special education teachers, service providers, and there really is a very limited number of general education seats in the district that are available. So that's why that's essentially the reasoning behind the annual cost, because we're trying to keep up with the increased costs elsewhere so that it does not come it too much of a loss to the district. It's not a program that is operating for profit.
June?
Do we frequently have a wait list? Because it seems like we have students or families willing to pay these prices that we're turning away. Would it make sense to expand this program at all? Is that possible, or is it just too cost prohibitive? I mean, I think if we could get more paying families in, that may help.
So the percentages have to work out so that there's a certain number of special education qualifying students in the program. So we can't expand the program unless we have the students who qualify for the program, not the paying students, but the qualifying students in numbers in order to warrant the increase. Is that fair to say, Aaron?
Yes, that's correct.
Randy?
Interesting. I always thought I thought there was a maximum of percentage of the need students with the general ed students. I didn't realize that you couldn't go lower. I thought that was better for the special ed students to be with more gen ed.
So can I answer that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, the cap on the classroom is 15 students altogether. The ratio of students with disabilities to students who are not identified is 51-49%. So we can have up to 8 students who do not require specialized services, and we can have up to 7 students who do require specialized services.
Any more questions? Is there a motion on the floor? Or does somebody want to make a motion?
I move the school committee approve the proposed 4% increase in the NMRSD Squanicook Early Childhood Center preschool tuition for fiscal year 26.
Do I have a second? No second?
I'll second.
Randy will second. All right, so we have Will and Randy. All right. Any questions? All right, Will. Whoops, hang on, Will, don't answer that. June.
I'm sorry. Was there an answer on the families with multiple children in the program as far as any sort of discounted rate?
I don't believe it's something the district can afford just because of the cost of the program.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Will,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
June McNeil,
Yes.
Tom Casey,
Yes.
myself, yes. All right, thank you, Erin. All right, moving on. We have the Valley Collaborative Board of Directors. Brad, do you want to speak to this? This is just a motion that we make yearly.
Sure.
That he's appointed.
This is for both Valley and Keystone. I sit on on both boards, so there are agenda items 11 and 12. I sit on both boards with other members. As a board member, I am able to attend monthly board meetings, review the budget, look at potential tuition increases for our students, and have voting rights as a board member. Generally speaking, Valley is made up of all superintendents. In Keystone, you would have the option of having either myself or a school committee member attend the meetings. But generally speaking, it has been me in the past. I have had some schedule conflicts with them. They tend to pick the same dates to meet once a month, which tends to be a problem, but they have been working with me as of late because I'm the only member that belongs to both. So it's been less of an issue in the past 2 years. So it is something I believe I can continue doing. I do have to attend 60% of the meetings at both.
Can we like appoint Gary as a sub in these alternate in these cases?
No, so Valley, it has to be the superintendent, and Keystone allows for the superintendent or a school committee member. It's in their bylaws.
All right.
I move that we appoint Brad to the Valley Collaborative Board of Directors and Keystone Educational Collaborative for the terms July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
All right.
Second.
And Randy is a second. So that was Will and Randy. Any discussion? Any questions? All right.
Thank you, Brad, for serving.
No, you're welcome.
All right. We'll start with you, Randy.
Yes.
June.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Lisa Bloom.
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
And myself is yes. All right, moving on. The next request is maybe or a request to change our organizational meeting to April 30th. That is right after the elections, but it's right before town meetings. If people would be open to changing that date, it's on a Wednesday, April 30th. Any questions, concerns? Randy?
I would be very concerned that any new members that get elected will not have an opportunity to either get sworn in or even to get an email and get access to anything or be able to speak with anybody about what the organizational meeting is. I typically have been meeting the last few years, going over the policy manual for the Board of Governance, kind of just going over the actual policies on what the school committee is, what the organizational meeting is for, what the different subcommittees that we typically have. In this kind of time frame, I probably wouldn't even be able to get in touch with them with that short of notice.
All right. June?
I agree. I was going to essentially say the same thing, that it's very short notice. And I'm wondering again, why did you want to move it up? Because typically we do have the election and then town meeting and then the organizational meeting.
Because it changed a few years ago because I think Ashby moved their date to the first
Always-
Saturday.
Always
So-
the first Saturday of May.
So how it's happened, because it was usually where it was the Pepperell meeting and we'd have the organizational meeting, and then that following Saturday it would fall. So just getting people in before the town meetings. Because then it was Pepperell and Townsend, because Pepperell's a Monday, Townsend's the Tuesday.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that there's any reason why we need to. As far as Ashby now being for a few years before the Pepperell meeting, I think that just has to do with how the dates fall as far as the first Saturday of the month. So it hasn't been an issue before, as far as I know. We don't do, typically haven't in the past had, except for the last 2 years, had actual business. Usually it's just the organizational meeting and then we're done. And that doesn't have to happen, before the town meetings. It really is just organizational, can happen at any time.
Anyone else? June?
Honestly, I don't think it is important to have them in their place or before the town meetings anyway, because they're not going to be able to speak to the conversations that we've had where they're brand new members and haven't participated in these meetings anyway. And if they want to speak, they can speak, anyhow, but I don't think it matters if the organizational meeting is before the town meetings or not. I think it's better to let them come on, get their feet wet, make sure that they can access their email, access the packet, and get a feel for what subcommittees they might want to be on, and just have time to transition into the role before being thrown into a meeting.
Anyone else? Randy?
I'd be open to moving it to the Wednesday since I don't know about anybody else, but I know Patrick now cannot make Thursday meetings. So April 7th, I think it is on that Wednesday. I'd be open to moving it, till then or anytime that week, but give them at least a week to kind of get everything settled.
Anyone else? Robin, is there anything happening, or do we know the schedule of the high school, because it is an in-person meeting?
I don't have that in front of me. Are you planning to hold it at the high school?
Yes, that's an in-person. Usually we'll do the organizational in person. So we'll look at the date and we'll figure out if it's the 7th or the 8th. I think that's the best. All right. Is everyone good? Moving on?
Kim has her hand up,
Lisa,
Chair.
Kim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Madam Chair, I don't think you could see my hand in the light.
Okay.
That is May 6th is the town meeting night for Townsend. And
Yeah.
depending on the cadence,
They may go to the 7th.
yeah,
Right.
I'm just suspecting that it might go to a second night.
So then we'll have to keep the 8th, because I know how Pepperell has already scheduled 2 days for theirs, so theirs is going Monday and Tuesday, and then Townsend will probably go Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll probably keep the 8th.
And I'll check in on that for you just to confirm, but I'm guessing that we're going to go 2 nights.
Okay. All right. So we will probably keep it to May 8th. All right. MSBA response, which Brad touched on when he spoke earlier. Do you want to touch on it more, Brad?
So I think I pretty much shared everything. Again, Secretary Tutwiler who's also now the acting commissioner, was instrumental in working with us and working with the MSBA on giving us a 1-year pause on any decisions, permanent decisions around Ashby Elementary. So again, I certainly want to publicly thank him again for his advocacy in this area. He's come out and he's met with me twice. So, you know, he's certainly invested, very willing to listen. And the fact that, you know, he's one of the few people that I've reached out to that has come out to meet with me. So it's been great, and I appreciate everything he's doing for us.
All right. And thank you, Brad, for reaching out to Tutwiler. And I know that you talked to John Cronin, Kennedy,
Yes.
and Margaret as well.
Yes.
So I thank you for your advocacy at that level. All right. Moving on, let's go to the Director of Operations and Facilities, Brad.
Sure. So before I go there, I actually just got some good news from the state that I was hoping I could share before I go over that. Something I think people might be interested in, and again, really push for some advocacy.
Yes, because I am getting, my phone is ringing off. Like other people are texting me about this good news. So
Okay, so just wanted to let everyone know that House Bill 4005 has now been finalized as House Bill 4010. It's an act making appropriations for fiscal year 2025 to provide supplemental certain existing appropriations and for certain other activities and projects. So what it basically means is the House has passed this bill, which allocates up to 1.3 billion in one-time funds from the FY24 millionaires tax surplus, and it has now been referred to the Senate. Some of the things that this bill include is 100% reimbursement for regional school transportation, which is up from 80 to 82%, 75% reimbursement for FY25 for out-of-district special education students, transportation costs through circuit breaker, and that's an increase from 44%, 75% reimbursement from FY26 for out-of-district special education transportation costs, and finally, a much-needed directive for the Office of the Inspector General to review school transportation and provide recommendations by February 2nd, 2026 to reduce costs, enhance purchasing power, and streamline services. So again, this is $1.3 billion from the millionaires tax surplus from FY24 that the House is recommending be streamed towards the school districts that are in need. So this is great news. So it sounds like our message was heard, but certainly I would encourage anyone that's on the call to continue advocating and make sure that the advocacy now switches from representatives to senators, because it's going on to the Senate now. That's all I have on that, which is, again, some great news. So hopefully we are being heard and we are moving in the right direction. Can I move on to the Director of Operations at this point?
Well, Randy, you want to?
Yeah.
Randy raised your hand.
Yeah, that is fantastic news. And Nancy, when you have time to sit down and absorb what that is in that bill, is there a way that at some point you can just kind of send out to the school committee an approximate amount of money that we might receive from this? Thank you.
No problem.
And it does look like portions of it may have to be used for FY25, which is seems to always be the case, but it would be nice if all of it could be used for FY26. But maybe we can find some ways for it to benefit FY26 as well.
And Kim has her hand up if you can't see.
Yep, Kim.
Yeah, I was just
Kim
going to say
and
that
June.
there's, it's still subject to a little bit of movement in the Senate, so we might want to wait for Nancy to do her magic so she doesn't have to do it twice. While we're excited, we might want to wait. What I did think was wonderful, and the superintendent might just not have had a chance to see it yet. It was 140 in favor and 14 against. So it was pretty overwhelmingly passed in the House. But I think it's incumbent upon everybody that is in the audience tonight to refocus efforts on the Senate and make sure that this does get passed halfway there.
More advocacy.
Yes,
Wow,
more
okay.
advocacy and education.
Yes. All right, June. Whoops, you're on mute, June.
My last meeting, you know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Years I'd have this. So 2 questions. Do we have an idea when this would come before the Senate? Like when we would get any sort of final answer on, you know, whether the schools actually will be getting this funding and how much it may be. And my second statement is if our district does receive funds that exceed the amount from the elementary school consolidation, I'm asking the members that will still be on the committee at the next meeting to please reconsider Ashby Elementary, keeping it open. We've already had the amount of young families I've seen put their house on the market in the past few weeks is awful. So please reconsider.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Brad.
Director of Operations.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So just to clarify, I know there was some public comments made tonight that this is not a new position. It's a position that has evolved from a pre-existing position. But in years past, we've not always been consistent in following all policy specifics when creating new administrative positions. While they've been included in budget discussions in the budget approval process, the job descriptions themselves have not always been approved. This was the case with the Director of Operations position. However, this position was created outside the budget process as the FY24 budget had already been approved at the time it was created. This was a position that was essentially created, I believe, thinking back now in May or June of that year. And the position came into existence after the retirement of our former Director of Building and Grounds, which occurred at the end of FY 2023. This position was created through the reallocation of some responsibilities between the Director of Technology and the new Director of Building and Grounds. Through this process, the Director of Technology became the Director of Operations as the role became responsible for some crossover items between technology, building and grounds, as well as assuming some direct responsibility for facility use, student registration, and state reporting. The position, along with some other additional shifts that occurred in FY 2024, resulted in a savings of just over $60,000 resulted in a savings of just over $60,000 for FY 2024. So again, this is not a new position. It was formerly the Director of Technology. It was changed because the job description of the Director of Technology changed, again, due to some buildings and grounds being brought on board, primarily security cameras, things of that nature, as well as building entry, student registration, facility use, and state reporting. So this it's really, again, it's not a new position. It's just a new title. So I would like to formally have the school committee approve the position and job description through a vote.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Randy.
I would like the school committee and the community members who are on to understand, this is something that I asked for. I came upon the Director of Operations title. I knew about the responsibility changes and realized that the job description was not approved by the school committee when this job was transformed for the Director of Technology to go into this position. It is the the right of the school committee, and we are the only entity within the district that can create a new position and a new job description. And so looking back, I want to make sure that we are following our policies, and I asked the superintendent to bring this forward so that we can approve this. It may be retro, but I still want to try and follow our policy. So again, this is not a new position. This has been in place. It's been working. It didn't cost the district any more money, but I'd like to try and just follow up with our policies and make sure that we are following them.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Do I have a motion for the Director of Operations and Facilities?
I move the school committee approve the position of Director of Operations and Facilities as outlined in the job description.
I second.
Sorry, Lisa.
That Bloom got that. I'm going to give it to Will and Lisa Bloom. All right. Any questions? All right. Let's take a vote. Randy,
Yes.
Kim, oops,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
Will Hackler,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Tom. Tom, did you? Yes, he said a yes. All right, yeah, and myself is yes. All right, the Director of Operations and Facilities is approved. All right, moving to the Assistant Business Manager, Brad.
Yes, so the assistant school business administrator. Again, this is something that is new. As many of you are aware, our business manager, Nancy Haynes, will be partially retiring at the end of the school year, but she's agreed to stay on as a 0.6. I think all of you have already heard this evening through the audit process how valuable she is, just with the way that whole audit process went. Nancy is invaluable. Being a regional school business administrator is far more complex than being a business manager in a comprehensive school district. The funding formula, the way towns are assessed, E&D, everything that goes with it is just extremely complex, and she is invaluable. And I'm thrilled that she's staying on as a 0.6 for next year. That said, business managers are one of the 3 positions that are appointed by the school committee. They are also among the most difficult positions to fill in the state for comprehensive districts, never mind regionals, which are more complex, as I said. The position was posted on SchoolSpring, which resulted in 7 applicants. There were 8 in total. 1 of them withdrew. None of the 8 who applied were licensed. With that, I'm recommending the creation of a new position, Assistant School Business Administrator. Once appointed, this individual will be coached by Nancy Haynes and enroll in the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials, MASBO, 1-year licensure program. While other districts are also in the market for this role, this is our best course of action to ensure that we maintain a licensed business manager of record while also training a successor. It's very important to point out that the state of Massachusetts requires that the business manager be licensed. Having an unlicensed business manager is not permitted in the state of Massachusetts. And as I said, we did not have any applicants who were licensed. And there are several districts out there who are looking for a business manager as well. So this position, along with some other minor shifts, will result in a savings for FY 2026 in just over $58,000. So it is not coming at an increased cost. It's coming at an actual savings, in part due to the reduction from a 0.6, from a 1.0 to a 0.6 for Ms. Haynes. So I would like to have this position and job description formally approved by the school committee, as right now it is our only course of action to ensure that we have a licensed school business manager in place when Nancy does retire. Thank you.
All right.
I move the school committee approve the position of Assistant Business Manager as outlined in the job description.
Hang on, Will. We have to change the name on that because I think it's a business administrator.
All right.
What is the title?
It's Assistant School Business Administrator.
Okay. Also, I would like to have this temporary. I don't want this to go forward. This is strictly for training the next school business manager. So I do not want two positions going forward once we have a full-time person back in place when Nancy leaves. Although I'm not sure Nancy can be fully replaced, but thank you for all of your service and everything you've done for this district, Nancy.
She's not gone yet.
No, I'm very, very happy about that. Thank you so much for helping the district out and staying. And we've been together for quite a long time, you and I, in this district. So very, very sad to see you leave, but happy to see you going on and doing what you need to do for yourself.
No, and thank you for clarifying that, Randy. I'm only asking for a temporary position at this point, not a permanent.
So a temporary being 1 year?
Yes.
Is that what we're assuming for the FY26 school year? All right. Okay, Will, can you modify we didn't get a second on it. Okay, I'll ask Lisa her question first, and then you work on your wording. All right. Lisa Bloom.
So is this, just clarify, is this position full-time and then Nancy will be part-time? Or will Nancy be full-time and the position be full-time?
Nancy will be part-time. The position will be a 215-day position, so close to full-time. But we still have to maintain Nancy again as the business manager of record as required by the state, because she maintains the license. Also, the actual MASBO program, the licensure program, requires a licensed coach. So that Nancy would also be serving in that capacity.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. June.
Okay, so to be crystal clear, the savings would be 58,000 between the two positions. That includes adding in the second position. Between Nancy's partial part-time position and the new trainee.
Yes.
And where Will's going to make a new motion with it being a 1 year.
A temporary, and that it's a business administrator, assistant business administrator. Is that the correct title? Brad, that's the correct title that we want.
Yes, the assistant school business administrator.
All right.
The job description in the packet says assistant school business manager.
Okay, you know what? I will change it to manager on my part too. It's administrator and manager. I'm fine to go with manager. I did not realize that. I apologize.
Okay.
All right. June, did you have a question?
I changed my mind.
Okay. All right. Are you ready, Will? He's not ready yet.
Going back to the motion. I move that the school committee vote to approve the position of assistant school business manager as outlined in the job description for 1 year.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
That is Randy, Will and Randy. All right. Kim, I'll start with you.
Yes. And if I
Andy.
may add, thank
Whoops,
you
any
for
questions?
the creativity for, I thought it's hard
No,
to hear
go
you
ahead.
though, when you talk.
I'll take-
Okay. So I'll say it now, but I don't have any questions. I just very much appreciate the effort and the creativity to make this happen, because we would be in a really difficult position. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Brad, for thinking this through and making this happen, because without it, we would be in a really tough spot.
All right. Anyone else have any comments before we go? Randy, since we haven't voted yet.
I know.
We're still open for
One thing I
discussion.
didn't add before was, so everyone understands the importance of this business manager position. Nancy, in her position, controls all of the money in the district. So anything that we are doing, everything for the students, for the programs that we have, is all controlled by Nancy as far as the funding. If something were to not be done correctly on a grant, we might have to pay grant money back. If we are not paying per some contracts or loans and that money's not properly accounted for and paid, we could have penalties. So there's a lot of responsibilities fiscally with this position. It is extremely important that we have somebody very, very qualified coming in after Nancy. And I think the superintendent, seeing that there is nobody that is coming to us with the experience that we need in this position, especially for a regional school district, that we are looking to develop somebody. And I appreciate you looking for a way for us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, can I just add one more piece that I did forget to mention?
Go ahead, Brad.
Again, I don't mean to muddy the waters, but I do think it's important that the people on the call hear. Essentially, if we don't have licensed candidates, the only real option that we would have would be to look to bring someone in who's retired. And bringing in someone who's retired would likely mean, again, we get someone that has the qualifications, but business managers and superintendents often find their way into the news when mistakes are made. And it is something that happens, unfortunately, fairly regularly. And just because we bring in someone that's retired and someone that may possess a license does not mean that they're going to be proficient in handling the budget of a regional school district. And if we were to do that, keeping our current business manager on at a 0.6 would result in a budget increase because we would have to, in essence, hire a retired full-time school business administrator and maintain the 0.6 or risk going without the 0.6 in our current business administrator and really taking a calculated risk that whoever we bring in could handle North Middlesex's budget. So I just wanted to put that out there. It is a very, very important role, and it's very important that we have the right person in the position and be trained by the right person. And I feel very strongly that Nancy is that right person.
And I am going to add to that because several times Brad has commented that Nancy has kept our district together and has helped us financially, and that he rates you among the best business managers he has ever worked with. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. That's very nice.
All right. Now we're ready for a vote. Anybody else? All right. I will start with Will.
Yes.
Lisa Bloom.
Yes.
June McNeil.
Yes.
Tom Casey. Tom? I'll come back to Tom.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
I did hear Tom. Tom gave a yes.
Yeah.
And then Randy
Yes.
and myself is yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. We are on to the FY26 budget. I am handing this over to Will. You are the finance chair?
Sure. I'm going to hand it to Brad. Where are we going from here?
And it's FY26?
Yes.
So is it okay if at this point I talk about fees and things of that nature?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yep.
those are the
Okay,
things.
so I did, certainly there was some public comment made tonight around kindergarten, middle school sports, increased fees. Increased user fees are something that we look at annually. Again, staying in line with what some of the other districts are doing. We don't have any formal recommendations at this point in time, but when we were talking about potentially the elimination of middle school sports and potentially having a fee for full day kindergarten, that is based in if the 2.25 budget does not pass. So the current budget that is before you, which is again that 2.25% increase, all the reductions that we've discussed and have been shared with you are the reductions. What's going to be really difficult, and that's why the advocacy is so important to your state senators now, is that if the 2.25 budget does not pass, we go from potentially reducing 24 teaching positions to somewhere in the low to mid 40s. So it will double because we've basically cut our budget by 2 million at this point. We'd have to cut by close to another 2 million to get us to zero, which is what we will be at if the 2.25 does not pass. So at this point in time, again, still looking at athletic user fees, activity card fees, things of that nature that were all discussed last year. But as far as fees for full day kindergarten and in cutting programs, athletic programs in the arts, that is not on the table, but it is something, all of those things would have to be considered if we don't get this budget approved. That's again why it's so important that we get the money from the state, but also that we get the support that we need from the towns so that we can get this through. Does that answer? Does that address the issues on the agenda?
Yes, I believe so. Is everyone satisfied with that response? Any questions? Oh, Randy, I was waiting for your hand, Randy.
Took me a moment there. So we're going to go down the list and discuss these because there's two of them at least that say update on. Or is this just, I'm not sure how, are we going to be having conversations on these now or?
Let me get.
So are you looking at the two potential revenue ones?
Yes, the opt out and the incentive.
So the early retirement incentive, that is not something that we'll be pursuing. Again, that's primarily in our discussions with the Teachers Association. That is not something that we will be pursuing. We're not able to get agreement there. And the health insurance opt out is still a work in progress. So we are still working on that. We're working on that with again, with the collective bargaining unit and seeing if we can get any interest there on potential savings for the district. So that is something that is still in progress.
So on this list,
and as I said earlier, I forgot we are reducing the PR firm for FY26 as well.
And the activity card, I know we were going to implement that last year. You decided you tried a fundraising campaign instead. It was unsuccessful.
Yes.
Is there any opportunity to talk about the cost? 'Cause I know it was quite steep for what we were talking about, at least in my opinion. The committee voted for the higher rate, which is fine, but I would like an opportunity for the school committee to maybe discuss what is needed and whether we can lower that down, and they'd be willing to lower that down going forward.
Sure, and I do think that there's certainly opportunity to discuss it at the school committee. That's something that the school committee would like to do. Just keeping in mind that the other thing that's difficult with some aspects of the activity card is that we do have several service learning organizations who are working to raise funds, make people's lives better, and they could be charged a fee, which
That's certainly something we need to talk about because
Yes.
that started coming in as we wouldn't do the service learning, but what qualifies as service learning. So that the whole program really kind of needs to be detailed out and discussed on exactly how it's going to work, more detail than we did last year.
Mhm.
But I'd like to, if it comes to having to do activity cards, I'd like to have it in the context of exactly how much money do we need to reduce by and have that conversation again as far as the level of what it's needed.
Can I bring something to the committee in May around activity cards and user fees?
that would work.
Does that work for everybody?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else have any comments or want to talk about any of the topics listed in the list? June.
I'm just gonna throw in my 2 cents now while I can, that we did discuss the kindergarten fees before, and there are very few school districts in the state that have kindergarten fees for full day for a reason. It really puts one set of kids far behind another if one set of kids are in half-day kindergarten and one set are in full day, which will cause a lot of problems for our first grade teachers and potential more special needs, more IEPs. I think it will actually cost the district in the long run. And the other point I want to say is with Ashby students currently plan to go to Townsend, the I know the longest bus ride mentioned was 80 minutes each way. That's nearly 3 hours on a bus for a 5-year-old that we're asking parents to do. We're asking parents to send their kids out of a town that they grew up in, and then to ask them to pay money on top of that is just really insult to injury. And I really, really hope you do not explore that route. I have a feeling we will lose even more families, and it really is going to kind of flip our district upside down with the decrease in Ashby enrollment. So I just want to speak against that at this time. When you have that future conversation, please keep that in mind.
Thank you, Jim.
Just a point of order, Robin. Kim Craven had gotten bounced, and now she's with the participants, or the attendees rather. If she can be let in as a panelist, please.
Thank you, Randy. All right. Anyone else? Any questions about the budget, FY26? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the subcommittee reports. Ashby Elementary, June.
We haven't met for a while with everything kind of up in the air. And with me stepping out of the committee at this point, I'm not sure if you want that group to continue or not. I know at one point there was talked about having an overall maintenance committee for all of the buildings combined. If Ashby is on a pause and there's certain projects to be done, I don't know if we will still, if we will want that committee going forward, or what the general feel is of this committee. I'm not sure if I would want to continue chairing it. I may or may not, but if there is a committee going forward, I would certainly want to participate in that in whatever degree is needed. So we haven't met for a while, but maybe at the time of your organizational meeting, if you want me to attend that meeting, or if you just want to let me know what you decide at that meeting, either way, but it's something to start thinking about.
All right, thank you, Jim. And at the organizational meeting, we'll figure it out with the members and figure out where this committee stands, and if it needs to be dissolved and recreated in a different form, we'll figure that out at that time as well. All right, accelerated repairs and building. We are close to getting this, but it's still going to be until October of next year. So this committee will be around just a little longer. All right. Then we are on to Will, and there are some transfers, Will, in your finance area.
All right. So we have a budget transfer. It's in the packet. Therefore, I move the school committee approve the FY25-1 budget transfer as follows. reducing the appropriation categories of the budget, operations, maintenance, technology by $15,306.22, instructional support by $754,125.85, insurance and retirement funds by $35,540, and adding to the appropriation category payment to out of district tuition, transportation, and school assessment, $804,972.07.
Do I have a second?
Second.
June has a second. All right. Any discussion? And Nancy, do you want to explain first before? Can Nancy explain before I take your question, Randy?
It actually is on the motion and it being made. I kind of touched with Will, and I think Nancy heard about it, is looking a little bit more into this. I'm not sure if the motions that we've been making are fully covering all of the transfers. So the school committee is responsible for approving all line item, not just the large buckets going back and forth. The information is presented here, so it is being given to us in the budget detail, but in certain larger buckets, it's a net zero. So there's just money moving around within that bucket, and so it doesn't show up. You can see in the motion, one second. You have administration, legal, audit, salary, and then there's a zero there. That actually means that there were transfers, but it was a net zero within that category. And since we're not reading that as zero, I'm not sure if we're legally actually approving that like we should be. The intent is there, but I'm not sure if the motion is covering it. So, I'm not sure if there needs to be another line or what, just to make sure that we are covering all of the transfers that are happening. Does that make sense?
I mean, you could, if you have a minute, you could just add the language as, and all detailed transactions or all detailed transfers as provided in the detailed budget report.
Yeah, something like that would cover something. Yeah.
April 3rd, I think it's April 3rd budget report. So that it's linked.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that should work.
Yeah, I mean,
if everybody looks in there on the detail budget there, the 4.3 detail budget, everything in the yellow line, the requested budget transfer, those are the transfer line item transfers that we are being asked to approve.
All right. So to technically do this, did I get a second on it or not a second? Robin?
Yes, June seconded.
Okay. So we have to amend the motion, and then we'll vote on the amended motion, and then we'll take the entire motion. So Nancy, did you have the wording, or Randy?
Yes, so I would like to amend the motion to, get here. One second, just looking up.
Want to get it right?
Yes. So I move to vote the school committee approve the FY25-1 budget transfer as follows: reducing the appropriation categories, budget, operations, maintenance, technology, $15,306.22, instructional support, $754,125.85, insurance, retirement funds, $35,540, adding to the appropriation category payments to out-of-district tuition, transportation, and school assessments, $804,972,007, including all other transfers within the 4/3/2025 detail budget as presented.
Second.
All right. So that was Randy and Will. And this is on the amended motion. Any questions? All right. Randy,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Tom Casey.
Yes.
Yeah. And myself is yes.
Kim,
That was on the amendment.
you forgot Kim.
Oh, Kim. Sorry,
I'm
Kim.
a yes.
We're in the middle of my screen. Kind of. Okay, Kim said yes as well. All right. That was on the amendment. Now we'll go back to the motion. Randy,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Lisa Bloom,
Yes.
June McNeil,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Tom Casey,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So that is, the transfer is approved. Thank you. Going back. Okay. We're almost done. All right, policy, Randy. Anything in policy?
No, not at this time.
Warrants. Patrick is not on the call. Negotiations. We had our negotiations meeting and it's moved forward and Brad has answered. We've done the opt-out, opt-in. Those were all done. All right. Randy, anything with non-teachers?
Nope.
Community outreach and town liaisons. June. Anything?
Yes, actually, I did speak during a couple town meetings since our last meeting to not town meetings, excuse me, select board meetings. But I also wanted to share the experience at the special town meeting. Randy and I were both there. In Ashby, there was only one article on the warrant, and the meeting was about an hour long. And so all we talked about was the school. And pretty much every single person that got up to speak, which was a lot of people, and we actually had a pretty packed house. We had people sitting all on the sides of, there weren't enough chairs. Anyway, it was a highly attended special town meeting. And every person said they're not against giving more money to the schools, but they would never vote yes for that, approving a budget that included closing Ashby Elementary. So the optics were very, very clear, and I just wanted to relay that to the rest of you, since you didn't hear what they were saying. And like I said, a lot of people spoke, and they said a lot of the things that we've heard during public comment here and that have been emailed to us. But I just want to reiterate how important the school is to the town, and that town support really does hinge on having our own elementary school. So that was the message that the townspeople really wanted to convey. And I just wanted to make sure that that was very clearly conveyed, because it was a resounding no, but that was why. It's not that they're not supporting the district. It's just that they want to keep our one asset in town, our hub of our community in town. So I wanted to make sure that you all understood that. That's all.
All right. Thank you, June. And I am Pepperell's. And I attended their town meeting. It is going to an override on the 28th. It's a 380,000 approximately. I think that was the amount that they are seeking for an override to support North Middlesex and Neshoba Tech. So that's the update that I have from Pepperell. All right, Will, do you have an update from Townsend? Or Kim can help you out with it as well if you'd like, or however you guys
We
want.
had a very confusing meeting and not sure where we stand.
So I'm pretty clear on what it was. Not confused at all. If you would like me to give any clarity.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
So there was a budget summit on March 1st, where there was a statement that there would be an override for 1.3 million. Clearly, the school did not have that. It's also on record that there would be extra, about 250,000, and that it would be okay, it would be kept, which we know is not possible or practical. We know that sometimes when meetings are long, people might misspeak. So we waited until town meeting. At town meeting, that same figure came up, and the special town meeting turned into a discussion about a bit of the town's budget. Luckily, there's some very smart women that were in the room and understood things that have happened. And so to preserve the town's budget and the school's budget, there was a motion on the floor to put an override in for the school. And we amended that motion to put $200,000 into the free cash, which has precedent in Townsend town meeting. This was not the first time that the school budget has been paid out of free cash. And for clarity, it is not the lowest that Townsend's free cash has gone. So any of that discussion is conjecture. So 200 out of free cash and the balance direct out of the operating budget so that there wouldn't be an override. Certainly the town and the school is part of it. The town is choosing to go for an override of 625. It did list that the schools are included. Not sure why, because it's explicit that the schools are not. So there is advocacy work of folks doing that to make folks understand it is not required for the school. And there will be a budget meeting. The Board of Selectmen has yet to give a budget to the FinCom, and there's yet to be a budget that shows the override amount. So to Will's point, there is some confusion, but the school's budget is clear. 200 out of free cash, the balance out of the operating budget for the next fiscal year. So not sure what the chips will fall for Townsend itself, but the schools was out of general operating and free cash.
All right. Any questions? Any other business? I do not believe that we need the executive session, as we did approval of the minutes, and we had the discussion about adding the assistant business manager. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is this going to be your last motion as a member? Okay.
As my last motion.
As your last. And then I will go with Tom to answer first. Tom?
No, I'm kidding. Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for your service before we continue. So, okay. Tom, June?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Lisa Bloom?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.